bum ba-dum, bum bum ba-dum, bum ba-dum, bum ba-dum, bum ba-dum. Hey guys, welcome back to the Bucket Think Tank from the round of Comic Chat. How you doing? How's your fandom treating you? So let's get into it with Doctor Strange issue 5. So when we last left off with this story ended with a huge cliffhanger. Alright? Because this story ends with with the reveal that Strange and Clea have been invited to the marriage of Umar, the Unrelenting, and Tabaro, Lord of the Seething Volcano Spirit of Decay. And it's like, okay, weird. And we then get to possibly the dumbest part of this book. Luckily, it's in the beginning. It's where Strange talks about how, a doctor is many things. A gambler, a magician, a confidant, but the most important thing is a detective. I'm like, shouldn't be a healer? Shouldn't be a counselor, if anything? Someone whose job is to interact with people. Like, look, I love House as much as everybody, but I don't think Strange should be applying Houseian medical practices here. He doesn't care, because a big part of his job is to figure out in case there's any magical soul-related issues that are opening one's body up to dark spirits or possessions and going from there. Hence Mr. Misery. But, whatever. So Strange is still sort of figuring out, okay, so two horrible people are getting married. Okay, God, what are we going to do? So anyway, they go down into the party. They're introduced as the Sorcerer Supremes, and of course, as Warlord, Clea Strange and Dr. Stephen Strange. And it's pretty much just Clea's mother, like, this is how we do it. There's your Doctor and Mrs. Like, no, this is Warlord and Doctor. There you go. Always, prioritizing the greater title. Warlord outranks Sorcerer Supreme. There you go. Or Doctor in this case. So, they all meet and whatnot, and they all sort of take that deep breath. And really, Umar isn't the problem here. It's Tabaro. Tabaro is really being him. He's really sort of in love with himself, which is what you sort of get here. And even though he probably knows that, Clea is not a fan of this wedding, also the fact that he probably does realize exactly what this marriage is about. He's like, no, I'm gonna bask in it. Should I just shoe his daughter then, Clea Strange? She's like, you know what? If you like, you would be in good company. My true father is a craven whose name I spit upon. You and he are the same. Alright? And that leads to the argument, because of course it does. And they have to sort of break it up. Like, hey guys, let's just stop here. It's a wedding. It's a happy occasion. Kinda, sorta, not really. And they sort of split up. Umar takes her daughter off to talk about exactly what's going on here. And Tabaro and Strange talk, alright? And Strange makes it clear, like, look, dude, I'm not going to bash anybody on their wedding, but I do want to let you know this, alright? I sought out Victor Von Doom and told him that I would not countenance him speaking again to my wife in a way not unlike what you just did. And I'm afraid of Doctor Strange. I ain't afraid of you. So, and I don't normally use this verbiage, but I have to. He basically said, keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth. Alright? And it's just how that works. I'm sorry. It was the best way to say it. Alright? Probably wasn't, but everyone else gets to do it. I had to at least once. So anyway. They sort of draw that line in the sand here. So they go off, and we see Clea and Umar talk, and she's like, really? Tabaro, Mom. And she's like, look, I don't know what made you think that I love this man, that he and I somehow bonded over, tea and crumpets. I love a ballroom dancing, generational trauma. No. This is about protection, about treaties, about alliances. The best way to do that amongst warlords is marriage. Alright, someone's going around here killing off other warlords. Alright, and I need him, because among anything else, he will be a great shield, allowing me to escape when the time is right. And as well as the fact that Clea has been displaced as heir. Alright? They have made a new baby. And it gives me Damian Wayne vibes. Because in reality, this is not made through the old-fashioned ways of making a child. This is taking a little bit of her, a little bit of him, putting a magical sphere and gestating So she sort of mentions that she is unable or incapable of having a child in normal way. I also don't think she wanted to touch tomorrow, so I don't know. I think that's a story in itself. I think other strange scholars might be more aware of that, but whatever. But this will be her sister, so there we go. And if she is killed, she will be the heir. So anyway, they all go in, and they're all sort of wondering, like, who has the audacity? Who has the most who's messed up enough to want to officiate the wedding? And then, lo and behold, they see him. Ladies and gentlemen, the man, the myth, the legend, the terror, the dread Dormammu, coming in like all the pretty girls walk like this, alright? And he is like, I have come here to sovereign warlord territory in order to recognize the union of my sister, Umar the Unrelenting, and Toboro, Sorcerer Supreme of the Sixth Dimension. I see many who have come to pay tribute to the betrothed. Warlords, conquerors, despots from across the many worlds. There is even a doctor in the house. Hey, Steven. Hey, man. I'll kill you. Alright, but anyway, let's do this wedding. Let's do this wedding. So Dormammu comes in, all professional. Sister, do you take this coward, this snake, this creature utterly unworthy of being linked to the glory of our cosmic lineage? Umar goes, I do. And Dormammu goes, alright, Toboro, do you take this crippled thing, this fleshly embarrassment in the name of the fall teen, this so-called warlord? Toboro's like, Dormammu, you overstep. And Dormammu's like, okay, sure. I do will suffice, man. They're like, I do. Then upon your own heads be it, Dormammu proclaims these two wed. Let any who challenge my proclamation identify themselves, so I may annihilate them. Not gonna lie, this story might turn out to be bad, but this whole thing is just great. Also, Clea's mom can get it. Alright? I said it. So anyway, as we thought this night couldn't get any worse, or any better, or any more unhealthy, it is attacked. Because of course it is. Alright? And Dormammu's like, an extra start to a doomed marriage? Goodbye, sister, brother. I believe this is none of my business. He just goes off. I'm like, oh, Jim McKay, is this because you made Dormammu a joke in the last issue that he had no control over anything, that Steven was always in control of that entire conversation? So then you're like, no, this is Dormammu's time to shine. I love you for it, man. Don't change. So anyway, Clea and Strange realize, oh wait, these are astral souls. They're enslaved souls of children. This is dark. It's good dark, but dark as hell. So anyway, we're like, okay, so we have to stop the enslaved child souls, but we can't destroy the enslaved child souls. Which, fair. But, Toboro is not a fan of that. You've attacked my wedding, and, you're going down. And it turns out we found who's behind this, as well as the kidnapping of Clea's sister. This man has been given 1,000 different names in 1,000 years of war. He's the war hound of the Vishanti, the butcher of the war of the Seven Spheres, the bloody-handed bastard of the screaming labyrinths. But I want to hear my real name from you, Doctor, the one who stole my life. Say my true name. And Strange looks up and goes, Strange. General Stephen Strange. And that's how the comic ends. So yeah, this isn't the worst wedding. I would say it still goes to the Red Wedding. It just has to. But then again, the Red Wedding is because someone decided to be an idiot. Two people decided to be idiots. But, yeah, Strange didn't do anything wrong here, apparently. So who knows, But, yeah, this was just a fun issue. It really was. We had Strange and Toboro going at it. We had Clea and Umar going at it. Well, not even going at it, but sort of explaining exactly what's going on here. We saw Dormammu steal the show. Really great. Love that. And then we had this huge row like, hey, how you doing? I'm General Stephen Strange. So is this the one that killed that warlord that everyone thinks was Clea? So, yeah, that's probably it. I did like this, though. Every time I think I'm done with this book, there's always something interesting that happens. So I'm looking forward to seeing where this goes next. Next, we have Star Wars Yoda issue 9. This is the penultimate issue, if I'm not mistaken. It's a 10-issue run. And I'm not going to lie, the end of this issue did not sit right with me. But let's go ahead. Let's just keep going. So, if we recall when we last left off with the story, Anakin and Yoda had decided to infiltrate a droid factory that was going to build super mega droids, which were just giant droids that would actually give them an unfair advantage, but I think the logistics of them would have taken too long to manufacture them? Well, I don't know. But anyway. So, after they blew up the factory, one droid survived, so Anakin and Yoda are now in a boss battle. So, they go through. It turns out, the hide here is pretty resistant to lightsabers. It has its own energy blade, and it more likely fires, so this thing was designed to kill Jedi. Alright? So we go from there. Yoda was probably feeling pretty good, he did take down Grievous. He did, let Grievous know of his place in the world. And, yeah, it's not looking good. Yoda's like, okay, so we gotta find another way in there. I'm thinking. Alright, so, Anakin, distract him for me. And he decides to pull this maneuver from episode 1 of the Clone Wars, where he goes inside the droid, but apparently auto locks, once it opens. So once you open the back, it then automatically closes. And he was like, this is bad. This is bad. So anyway, he goes in, well, it's flown off, it's left the atmosphere. So, bare minimum, I gotta break this thing. So he goes in, swings his old lightsaber a bit, and he's like, well, we're now stuck in space. And I don't know where Anakin is. So I better meditate, center myself, focus my breathing. Because, Jedi don't get to just survive the atmosphere of space without there being some particular reasons. Plo Koon's mask, their meditation techniques. The issue with Last Jedi is the fact that Leia regains consciousness in space. Which means she was not doing anything if the novel revealed that Leia, engaged in Force meditation technique to, project an air bubble, which has happened in Star Wars canon, that's fine. Then we just have, how weirdly it's shot. That's it. But, whatever. So, as Yoda's focusing, this might be the end. He gets a contact from Anakin, Anakin, alright, about damn time. Alright, so, so here's what you're gonna have to do here. You are gonna have to Yoda says that, Anakin says, you have to stop the rotation. Well, you see, the problem is, Anakin, I have been without oxygen for a good while, and this thing is also rotating in space, so I'm a bit out of it now. So you're going to have to do it, Anakin. And the thing is, Anakin is the chosen one, but I think one thing that isn't emphasized enough in TCW is that Anakin does not apply his Force abilities properly. In other words, he has the greatest potential to do just about anything with the Force, but he's never trained in that higher mysteries, in that level of control. He's got some control. He does. But something like this, to him, it can't be done. Alright? And so he has to guide Yoda through, he has to guide Anakin through, you can do this. Alright? So he's telling him, look, focus, center yourself, and stop the rotation so I can get to you. Alright? So he guides him through this. And it's a really great scene because it shows Yoda as a teacher. It shows Anakin's real potential. Yoda even said, look, at this moment, you are stronger than me right now. You are better qualified to do this than I am. And so he sort of forces Anakin to sort of step up. No, you've got this. You can do this. And if not, I will die. So, I'm going to need you to do this. So they're able to do it. And Yoda cuts his way out. And there's a really cool scene here when Yoda's in the med bay, and Anakin says, you said I was the only one who could stop the rotation. But he's I don't think that's true. I think you wanted me to do it, so I knew I could do it. And Yoda's I'll never tell. And that is Yoda being the teacher we know he is. Alright, Anakin, I've said before, I just said it, but I'm going to say it again. Anakin has the greatest Force potential of any living Jedi. But all he does is Force push, Force pull, Force crush. There's a myriad of things he could learn. Like Force healing, which would have solved all his problems if he just devoted himself to learning these other things. But he doesn't. Malaysia, what was it? Tutumenis. In other words, redirecting Force lightning. He could learn those skills. He has the power. He has the potential. He has the raw talent. But in Anakin's mind, If it's not combat, if it's not directly combat related, he doesn't care for it. And that is his greatest failing. Well, one of them. So, an adventure well done, a great story, we've all learned something about ourselves, but that's not it. Yoda is talking to someone. Who is this person to be talking to in his hut? Obi-Wan Kenobi. So we realize where we're at here. This takes place presumably after the events of A New Hope, but before Empire Strikes Back. Presumably. It could take place after Empire, but we don't know. We don't know. So anyway, Yoda here is sort of thinking that the galaxy is better off without him, that he's failed. That he failed to see through the machinations of Palpatine, his corruption of the Senate, the corruption of young Skywalker, and when it came time to stop him on Coruscant, in the Senate chamber, I failed there too. The shadow that is across the galaxy is my fault. I have exiled myself not just as a form of penance, but because I believe that the galaxy is better off without me. And I have to say, this is the dumbest thing I have heard in a long time. So, and I'm only going to slightly blame The Last Jedi for this, because this has always been an issue that has stuck in people's heads for a while. Alright? Obi-Wan has a reason to stay on Tatooine. He's watching over Luke. We had a whole Kenobi series that kind of crapped on that, his entire character in some ways, but whatever. There's a reason for him being there. Yoda's waiting for what? He's waiting hey, at some point, Obi-Wan will send him here. Okay, makes sense. Makes sense. To me, it made perfect sense for him to hide out because, well, Yoda is if you go by Star Wars lore right now, in the time of the prequels, going into the original trilogy, and even in the sequel trilogy, there is no other species like Yoda. He is easily identifiable. Alright, and there's a bounty on his head. Remember the guy said, I've got the death sentence on what? 5 systems? Yoda's Grandmaster of the Jedi Order. He has the death sentence on every system. Alright? And I would imagine the amount of resources that would be put into taking out the rebellion if they knew Jedi were in there. If they knew Yoda or Obi-Wan or even Ahsoka were part of the actual rebellion. The Empire would waste no shortage of resources to just take them out. Alright, so I get the idea of a sense of him saying, hey, I failed, so I'll go off here, but he's hiding out because the galaxy doesn't need me. I failed. So Palpatine's machinations are not solely on Yoda. Alright? Because he maneuvered politically as much as he did through the Force, alright? This was a grand plan. Hundreds of years in the making, alright? The rule of 2 was taking the Sith off the board to the eyes of the rest of the universe, alright? To the rest of the universe, especially the Jedi Order, the Sith were gone. And the Sith used this time to get stronger. By the time of, I would say, Tenebris, probably even before Tenebris, the Sith had moved back even further. They were cultivating skills outside of combat, business, politics, art, medicine. They were really sort of expanding, and they had the advantage of the galaxy thinking they were gone. So they were able to evolve. Yoda's greatest crime, and I wouldn't use crime, I'd say his failing, was that in all those years he never really tried to push the Jedi Order in a new direction, a different direction, which the High Republic kind of crapped on, because going by the logic of the High Republic, as far as I can tell, it was totally different. Everyone was getting laid, everyone had all these different views of the Force and whatnot, there were all these way stations for all the Jedi to operate better, and then I guess Yoda became Grandmaster, you know what, shut all this down, alright? No one's getting laid anymore, alright? 2 lightsaber colors, lose this armor mess, alright? We don't need all these way stations. Alright? All we need is to be on Coruscant. Alright? I don't get this. It feels like we're just reinforcing the stupidity of The Last Jedi, where even Luke goes, at the height of their power, they allowed a Sith Lord to take control. They didn't let him. Alright? Palpatine played a better game. Alright? The Jedi were very much, at that point, I'm on a rant now. So the Jedi, they're great. So, Yoda's greatest crime, and again failing, was not taking the Jedi in a new direction, not trying to fix problems that maybe he thought were there, but like, hey, you know what, this is how it's always been, so we're going to do that, alright? The Jedi, as an organization, their problem was they were too mired in the politics of the Republic, alright? And a big problem that led to that was they were often, you saw this in Tales of the Jedi, they were being sent to deal with petty political squabbles when other issues they'd like to deal with, like slavery, are still going on in the galaxy. Because the Jedi derive their authority from the Republic. In other words, if the Republic's laws don't go there, they can't do anything. Alright, unless that planet, hey, we need Republic help. So, there's that. And there's a really great comic where Mace tells, so there's like these Jedi that have splintered from the Order after the events of Geonosis. It's like, hey, you know what, I'm not a fan of this war, we should probably side with the Separatists, they might be the right ones here, why aren't we doing anything about slavery? And Mace is like, do you not think that the Council has not weighed all these issues? That we might be on the wrong side, that the Republic has its problems, but it is the best possible option for doing what we need. Alright, Yoda Dark Rendezvous. Alright, great book. If you haven't read it, you're not doing yourself a favor. Alright, Yoda pretty much at some point says, like, you know what? We really shouldn't be on Coruscant. We should move the Jedi Temple somewhere else, alright? And that might have fixed so many problems if they create that distance. But the Jedi Order sees working with Republic as the best way to get everything done. Working within a flawed system because it's the only system they have. Alright? Because the Jedi do not want to rule. Alright, they just want to help. And yeah, so I'm on this rant here. Apparently it's going to be concluded in issue 10. And yeah, so that was my rant. I'm sorry, this is just what happens. I really hate this idea where Yoda's like, ooh, I failed, it's all my fault. Everything that's happened is my fault. Palpatine did nothing wrong. He just lied to me. He lied to the entire galaxy. Like what? What? Okay, anyway. So enough of that. So, our last one. Night Terrors. So this story is not bad, but I really felt like, considering what's coming in October, we should have switched these two events around. Alright? Because in October, we have the Justice League versus Godzilla versus King Kong. Alright? That is a summer blockbuster event. This is Halloween. Who thought this? I need to hear that the people that were working on the Godzilla versus King Kong versus Justice League was like, look, dude, there's been a family emergency. I can't do this right now. We'll have to push it back to, like, October. I'm sorry. So, like, switch it. Fine. Night Terrors is already done. Move that here. Alright? So, there we go. That's the only way I'll accept this. Alright? This is not a summer blockbuster event. This is a Halloween event. Alright. So, let's get to this event here. So, anyway, if you last recall, we last left the story off here. Boston Brand has found, aka Deadman, has found out that the villain Insomnia, or under control of Dr. Destiny, is up here trying to find the Nightmare Stone, putting everybody to sleep, giving a whole bunch of nightmares that have interrupted just about every book DC has, and apparently they vary from good to we shouldn't have done this, and we go from there. I didn't know Hal Jordan was Jewish. Alright. So anyway, in the midst of all this, Deadman comes across the Sandman coming out of his grave. Sandman is a JSA character. Actually, I really like his design. I think the last time we saw him properly was in Earth 2 Society in New 52? Well, the dying days of New 52. As part of the DCU initiative, Creativity Over Continuity. So, Sandman apparently did have a case that involved insomnia, or at least the Nightmare Stone to an extent, involving a cult. He thought he was saving some guy who was like kidnapped out. Like, no, turns out that was the leader of the cult, and he had the Nightmare Stone. He hid it somewhere, and so while trying to find that out here, they're like, hey, let's go find any surviving members of this cult, and we'll go from there. Also remember that Deadman is currently inhabiting Batman's body, and the downside of that is Boss does not realize that Batman has made it so he won't fall asleep, but as long as Boss is inside his body, he can't properly wake up. So yeah, we found a way to make this story Batman-centered without making it Batman-centered. Okay, so anyway, they find the said one of the surviving members of the cult, or rather Dr. Destiny / Insomnia does, is like, hey man, how you doing? So, where is the stone? You're like, oh no! No, dude's murdered. Like, here's the thing. I don't like this. I don't hate this event, but I feel like we didn't need it. I feel like it's out of place, but it's a really good event. We've got a lot of great tension here. Deadman and Sandman go to Terrific Tech after hearing a call from Red Tornado. Red Tornado, because he's a magical air elemental inhabiting a robot suit, does not fall asleep. Where's his wife? I want to go back to that. So anyway, they go in, and they realize that the rest of the world is also falling under the power of insomnia. Ugh. So anyway, I'm trying to figure out what's going on here. Mr. Terrific, I guess, put himself in there. I don't know when. I don't know how. Third smartest man on the planet. I guess he kind of does that. His nightmare doesn't make sense to me, because to me, I think Terrific's nightmare would either be falling into obscurity, more into obscurity, or being guilt-tripped about his wife. But anyway. So, in the midst of it all, Deadman sees Insomnia's nightmares, pretty much him being tormented in Arkham Asylum, because of course he was tormented in Arkham Asylum. And he's really upset that the Justice League keeps coming back from the dead, while his wife and family are still dead. So I'm like, you know what? Fair, valid. Like, the DC Universe would solve all their problems if they had Dragon Balls. Let me think about it. Just keep wishing dead people back to life. There we go. Like, it's overplayed in Dragon Ball, but really, the DC Universe needs some sort of default way to bring a lot of people back from the dead that doesn't feel like we're just rebooting continuity. Just gather 7 really good DC comic books, 7 big retcon events, and say, now, arise, editor, and bring them back. I don't know. So anyway, boss is like, yeah, dude, this dude's messed up because he's been in Arkham Asylum. And then someone realized, like, wait a minute, if I can track him, can't he track me? And yeah, he ends up right there, like, so guys, hey, remember how the story's supposed to go? And it feels like I'm not paying much attention to this event, because I'm really, really not. But I do like the atmosphere. I do like how we incorporated other members of the Justice League for this. To me, it feels like this main story is not as interesting as the Night Terror events themselves. And I want to go over that when it's all done, so I can talk about exactly how they all worked within each other, within the theme being presented here. But on the ground, this is all you need. And I do like this idea with Insomnia, with Nightmares, but I'm not quite seeing how it ties in thematically. I think, had we done this a bit better, and again, my inevitable rewrite of the past couple of arcs at DC needs to happen, but I think this would be better if we saw more of what all these characters were going through. Let me see, like, the powers of Nightmares, and possibly even the healing powers of Nightmares, where you are able to address certain issues with yourself. But here we're just saying, hey, Nightmares, I'm Insomnia, my life is terrible. Because once, it reminds me of Black Hand, who felt like, why is no one staying dead in the DC Universe? But again, my family's still dead. This is the same thing here, alright? People aren't staying dead. Heroes get to come back, but not my wife and kids. I'm like, well, he's got, that's fair. That's fair. But overall, I really felt like we should have gotten Godzilla, King Kong, Justice League. It's the summer. That is a blockbuster. I'm saying it again. So anyway, let's stop. Let's stop. Anyone think you're playing Disney Lore Arcana? Because it looks fun to me. But anyway. Let's bring this to a closer. If you're new to the Bucket Thinking, feel free to like, comment, share, subscribe. What was your favorite book you read this week? Leave it down in the comment section. I'll catch you all later. This is Bucket Thinking signing off. Thanks for watching. As always, may your fandom serve you well.